We hebben een hele uitgebreide soundcheck gedaan gisteren en daarna nog generale 's avonds. En als er dan niemand meer aan de knoppen komt, dan blijft alles staan als gisteren en dan moet het werken vandaag.
Want ik kan me herinneren die andere jaren dat toch nog even om 5 uur op dezelfde dag nog even nog wat getest werd met geluiden.
Ja, zoals ik zei, we hebben gisteren zo uitgebreid gesoundcheckt.
A private letter written by André Rieu to his son has just been revealed. And what's inside is shocking, emotional, and unforgettable. In it, the King of Waltz opens his heart like never before, sharing secrets, regrets, and one final wish. Why did he keep it hidden? And what does this mean for his legacy? Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you'll see André and his son in a whole new light. A letter from the past. It wasn't an announcement. It wasn't a press release. It was something far more personal and far more powerful. A handwritten letter from André Rieu, hidden for years, finally revealed to the world by his son, Pierre. The letter had been kept private for a long time, locked away in a drawer, tucked between old tour notes and personal papers. Not because it was a secret, but because the timing was never right. Until now. Pierre, visibly emotional, explained that his father wrote the letter during a difficult period in his life, one filled with exhaustion, uncertainty, and reflection. And when he finally opened it to the public, it was clear why he waited. The letter is raw, honest, and deeply moving. It begins with a line that caught everyone off guard. "You are my last hope." Those words, directed from a father to his son, were not about desperation. They were about legacy, about love, and about entrusting someone with not just memories, but with meaning. As fans read through the letter, they weren't just witnessing private thoughts. They were stepping into a sacred conversation between a father and his child. One filled with pride, but also vulnerability. And what came next in the letter made that even more clear. A father's final wish. As the letter unfolded, it became clear that this wasn't just a goodbye or a reflection. It was a message of purpose. A father's last request, not for sympathy, but for continuity. André Rieu had spent his entire life building something beautiful. A life in music. A global family. A sound that people from every culture connected to. But in this letter, he admitted something quietly painful. "I worry what will happen to everything I've built when I'm no longer here." He wasn't just talking about concerts or recordings. He was talking about the soul behind it all. The energy, the passion, the belief that music should feel like joy, not obligation. That's why, in the letter, he calls Pierre something remarkable. "You are the bridge between my past and the world's future." It wasn't pressure, it was trust. André wasn't asking his son to copy him. He was asking him to carry forward the feeling, the heart, the humanity behind the waltz. It was, in many ways, André's final wish. Not to be remembered for fame, but to know that what he started would keep touching lives. And as the letter continues, we start to understand just how much of André's life and his struggles went into what we now know as the Johann Strauss Orchestra. "I built this with my hands." In this section of the letter, André opens up about something most people only see from the outside: his empire. The beautiful concerts, the costumes, the lights. But behind all of it was something very different. Hard work, humble beginnings, and pure belief. He describes launching the Johann Strauss Orchestra not as a glamorous career move, but as a risk, a wild dream. He started with just 12 musicians, a broken-down tour bus, small venues, no sponsors, no safety net. "I built this with my hands," he writes, "and I did it with heart." That heart, he explains, is what matters most. The orchestra wasn't just a business. It was a community, a family, a living extension of his soul. But André also included a warning, one that echoes through the letter. What is built with heart must be guarded with honor. He feared that in the wrong hands, all of it could become just another product, just another brand. So he begged Pierre to remember what made the orchestra special. Not the size of the stage, not the number of ticket sales, but the connection to people, the joy in their faces, the tears during a waltz. Because to André, the worst thing that could happen wasn't losing fame, it was losing meaning. That's when the letter begins to shift into something far more personal. Behind the velvet curtain. For most of his career, André Rieu has been a symbol of elegance, of beauty, of perfection. But in this part of the letter, he opens the curtain and shows what life really looked like backstage. He admits the truth. It wasn't always as glamorous as it seemed. People see smiles, he writes, but they don't see the sleepless nights. André details the hidden toll, the pressure of constant travel, the fear of disappointing fans, the weight of being the one who must always inspire. He battled insomnia, chronic stress, and moments of pure emotional fatigue. He felt alone in hotel rooms. He missed family birthdays. He missed years of ordinary life. Music, he writes, was both his salvation and his prison. It gave me everything, he says, and yet it often took everything too. He doesn't regret the music, but he does regret how often he let it come before everything else. His letter shows a man not just looking back, but questioning, grieving, and trying to make peace with the choices he made. And then he shares a moment that changed it all. A moment in 2010 when the very thing he loved, performing, nearly disappeared from his life forever. The illness he tried to hide. In the most vulnerable section of the letter so far, André Rieu talks about a night that nearly ended his career. It was 3 a.m. He was in Belgium. He woke up and felt like the floor had vanished under him. The world spun violently. He couldn't walk straight. He thought it was a stroke. Or worse. "I thought I was dying," he wrote. Everything was upside down. He was eventually diagnosed with vestibular neuritis, a condition that affects balance and coordination. It's especially cruel for someone who lives through music and movement. André couldn't perform. He couldn't stand for long. He had to cancel entire tours, and for a while, he didn't know if he'd ever come back. "I lost my footing in every sense of the word," he said. It was more than physical. It shook his identity. For a man who never took a sick day, who lived to be on stage, it felt like the world had stopped turning. But he hid the full truth at the time. He didn't want people to worry, didn't want to seem weak. Now, years later, he shared it with Pierre, so that he wouldn't make the same mistake, so that he'd know when to rest, when to ask for help. And as we move to the next part of the letter, we see just how deeply André feared this could happen again, and how eerily right he was. A prophetic warning. Years before it happened, André Rieu had already written about it in his letter. A single haunting line stood out. "I fear the day my body betrays the stage." He wasn't being dramatic. He was being honest. He could feel something changing deep inside, an unspoken warning that the pace he had lived by for decades might one day catch up with him. And it did. In 2024, During a much-anticipated return to Mexico, André collapsed. After 2 spectacular performances, the joy was replaced by emergency. A high fever, intense exhaustion, and the unforgiving altitude of Mexico City pushed his body to its absolute limit. What was supposed to be a victory lap turned into a devastating retreat. Pierre was there. He saw it all. And as he rushed his father onto a flight back home, he remembered the words in that letter. It wasn't just prophecy. It was a plea André had been whispering for years. Slow down before it's too late. The tour was cancelled. Fans were heartbroken. But more than that, the Rieu family had been shaken. The collapse in Mexico wasn't just a medical scare. It was a wake-up call, one that forced everyone around André to take a hard look at what this life was costing him. And that's when another line from the letter became painfully real. You must know when to stop. At the height of his career, André Rieu could fill arenas in minutes. He could walk on stage and be greeted like royalty. But behind the curtain, things looked very different. In the letter, he wrote to Pierre with raw sincerity, "You must know when to stop. Not when the crowd goes quiet, but when your body speaks louder than they ever could." He confessed that during those final moments in Mexico, he could barely stand. His legs were shaking. His breath felt short. Backstage, he looked at Marjorie and quietly whispered, "I can't do this anymore." André had always believed in pushing through, playing with the flu, traveling on no sleep, smiling through pain. But this time, his body overruled his will, and his letter urges Pierre not to repeat that mistake. "Do not let applause drown out your heartbeat," he wrote. It wasn't just advice. It was a confession of his own limits. André was telling Pierre that courage isn't always found in carrying on. Sometimes, it's found in stepping back. And as we move deeper into the letter, we discover another reason he was so determined to share these truths. Because this wasn't the first time pain had forced him to stop. The hidden grief of 2016. In 2016, fans were left confused and worried when André suddenly canceled several shows. Rumors spread fast. Was he sick again? Was something wrong? The official story was vague, and many assumed the worst. But the truth was even more personal. André had lost a close member of his orchestra, someone he called family. The grief was overwhelming, and in the letter, he reveals what he couldn't say back then. "The music couldn't comfort me. Not that time. I was broken." He wrote that he tried to pick up the baton, to lead through the sadness. But the stage felt hollow. The melodies rang empty. He needed time, not to recover physically, but to grieve. He never told the public, never explained the pain. Until now. To Pierre, he wrote, "The show must not always go on. Sometimes it must stop, so you can breathe, cry, and come back whole." It was a side of André the world rarely saw. Not the performer, but the man. Vulnerable, wounded, human. And that vulnerability continued in the next part of the letter, where André spoke not just of the orchestra as a group of musicians, but as something far more meaningful. Take care of the family. To the world, the Johann Strauss Orchestra is a dazzling world-class ensemble. But to André Rieu, it's something entirely different. In his letter, he calls them, "my musical bloodline." These are not just colleagues. They're his second family, people he's laughed with on long bus rides, cried with in dressing rooms, and trusted through every triumph and trial. André reminds Pierre that being a leader isn't just about conducting music. It's about caring for people. Treat them like kin. not staff, he writes. Because they are. He shares memories of the road. Birthdays celebrated in hotel lobbies, rehearsals that turned into therapy sessions, quiet nods of encouragement before a tough show. These weren't just performances, they were shared lives. André's message is clear. Legacy isn't made of notes and applause. It's made of people, of loyalty, of love. And if that love is lost, then no amount of success will be worth it. As the letter turns gentler, it becomes less about advice and more about life. André begins to speak of healing, of joy, of finding small things that keep your spirit alive, even when the stage goes dark. Let the music heal you. In the final portion of this chapter of the letter, André writes about something few would expect from a man known for massive productions and global fame: peace. He talks about the quiet moments that helped him heal after illness, heartbreak, and exhaustion. One of the most surprising things: baking. When you are lost, he wrote, find your rhythm in flour and melody. During the pandemic lockdowns, with stages closed and tours on hold, André found comfort in his kitchen, kneading dough, watching baking tutorials, creating something with his hands that wasn't meant for applause, just for joy. He urges Pierre to never forget the value of joy for its own sake. This work will demand everything, he warns, so remember to keep something just for you. Music, he says, is healing, but only when it comes from a place of love, not pressure. He wants his son to keep performing if he chooses, but not because he has to, because it makes him feel alive. This shift in tone, from the heavy burdens of legacy to the quiet joys of living, marks a turning point in the letter. And what follows next is perhaps the most honest confession André has ever made to his son. Don't be me, be better. As André's letter nears its most vulnerable pages, he stops offering advice and starts revealing regrets. It's here that he tells Pierre something unexpected, something raw and deeply human. Don't be me, he writes, be better. This part isn't about music or tours. It's about life, about the moments André missed while chasing something bigger. He confesses to playing through fevers, ignoring signs of burnout, and prioritizing the next show over his own health and sometimes his own family. André doesn't write this with bitterness. He writes it with love, with the honesty of a man who gave everything to the world, but sometimes forgot to save enough for himself. I missed too many dinners, he says. I kept playing when I should have been home. I forgot to rest. His wish for Pierre isn't to carry the torch in exactly the same way. It's to light his own path, one built with better balance, stronger boundaries, and deeper self-awareness. He reminds his son that legacy means nothing if you lose yourself in the process. That true success is about knowing when to give and when to step back. That love must come before legacy, or legacy means nothing. André's words here are more than a passing of the baton. They are a father's deepest hope, that his son will carry the music, but leave behind the weight. And in the next breath, he brings the focus back to where everything started, home. Maastricht is home. Never forget that. Through all the airports, standing ovations, foreign stages, and flashing cameras, there's one place André Rieu never truly left behind: Maastricht, the small Dutch city where he took his first breath, where he first heard music in the air, and where he eventually planted the roots of an empire that grew far beyond its cobblestone streets. In his letter, André returns, at least in memory, to those quiet beginnings. And he reminds Pierre that no matter how far the music travels, every melody leads back home. The world will cheer, he writes, but only Maastricht will wait for you. He's not just talking about a place. He's talking about a feeling. The golden glow of the town square on a summer night. The laughter of neighbors as violins echo through the streets. The hush that falls over the crowd just before the first note. Those moments, André says, are the soul of everything he built. He tells Pierre to remember the early days, not when the orchestra filled stadiums, but when they played for anyone who would listen. When the stage was simple, when the applause came not from thousands but from people who knew their names. That square, he writes, is where I stopped being a student and became an artist. Maastricht, to André, is more than his hometown. It's his compass. The place that keeps him grounded when the fame gets too loud. The place where the music isn't just performed, it's lived. He admits that global success can be blinding. The spotlight has a way of pulling you in, making you forget where you started. And in this part of the letter, he gently warns Pierre not to let that happen. No matter how big the stage, he says, never forget the one you built with your own hands. It's a reminder to protect the spirit of the music, not just its image. To stay connected to something real, something that doesn't need cameras or applause to matter. Maastricht is more than just geography in André's eyes. It's the emotional and artistic foundation of his life. It's the city that raised him, inspired him, and gave him the courage to imagine something greater. And now, it's the place he returns to, not just physically, but spiritually, as he slows down. And that's where this section of the letter leads. A transition from the fast-paced years of endless touring into something softer, something slower. André is learning to live with the rhythm of time. But no matter how much changes, he hopes one thing never does: Pierre's connection to Maastricht. Because in the end, André knows the stage will fade, the curtain will fall, and the world will move on. But Maastricht will always be home. 1 year at a time. By this point in the letter, it's clear that André Rieu is not just saying goodbye to youth, but learning how to age with grace. For a man who used to plan 10 years ahead, the letter now reveals a new mantra: 1 year at a time. The long tours are behind me, he writes. No more Australia, maybe not even South America. He doesn't say it with sadness. He says it with peace. Because what matters now isn't how far he travels. It's how meaningful the moments are when he does. Every concert is more personal. Every encore more precious. Every decision more thoughtful. André admits that fatigue has settled in, that his body no longer bounces back like it used to. But rather than mourn it, he's learned to honor it, to listen to it, and to shape his life around what still gives him energy: connection, creativity, and home. I will play until my hands no longer answer me, he says. But I will choose when and where. This new philosophy of taking life one concert, one season, one heartbeat at a time is the most powerful shift in the entire letter. It shows that André is not fading. He's focusing, and with that clarity comes one of the most emotional messages in the entire document. You are the encore. There's a point in every great performance when the music slows. The lights dim just slightly. The final note fades into silence, and the crowd waits, hoping for one more moment, one more song, one last encore. In André Rieu's letter to his son, That moment comes with no music, no applause, just paper, ink, and the quiet voice of a father laying his soul bare. All the memories, the advice, the triumphs, and the mistakes, they fall away until only one line remains. You are my encore, my last performance. It's more than beautiful. It's haunting, honest, deeply personal. That sentence is the emotional climax of everything André has written, because in that single line, he tells Pierre that his greatest achievement isn't a concert or a tour. It's him. André isn't handing over a business. He's handing over a legacy, a way of living, a vision for how music can connect people, move them, and heal them. Everything he has created, every standing ovation, every orchestra member who became family, every tear shed during a waltz, now lives on in Pierre. But what's truly special about this part of the letter is what André doesn't say with pressure, but with permission. He encourages his son to be himself, to find his own sound, his own rhythm. Write your own music, he says. Lead in your own voice. But he also offers one crucial reminder. It's not the note, it's the heart behind it. That's the part André fears the world sometimes forgets. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real, about meaning every single moment you share with others, whether it's on stage or in life. Pierre is not expected to replace his father. André makes that clear. He doesn't want a replica. He wants a continuation, a new chapter in a long story, one that grows in new directions, but still carries the same soul. In this moment, the letter becomes more than just advice. It becomes a blessing, a symbolic passing of the baton. André is no longer center stage. He's just behind the curtain now, smiling, watching with quiet pride. You are my encore, he repeats, my last performance. And yet, that line isn't an ending. It's a beginning, not just for Pierre, but for everyone who has followed André's journey. Fans, musicians, friends, they are all invited to witness what comes next. Because legacy doesn't end when the performer steps away. It lives in those who carry the feeling forward. In every new note, every new smile, every person touched by the music. As André's letter nears its end, this is the moment that lingers, the moment that stays with you long after the music has faded, not as a farewell, but as a quiet promise that the encore has only just begun. The legacy lives on. In the final lines of the letter, the emotion deepens. André Rieu doesn't write about tours or awards. He doesn't list achievements. Instead, he focuses on what comes next, not for him, but for the world his music touched. Pierre, after reading the letter, shared publicly that it changed everything. Not just his understanding of his father, but of himself. It gave him purpose, a sense of calling, and a responsibility he never fully realized until those words were in front of him. André may be stepping back, but the music? It's not going anywhere. It's evolving. It's being passed like a torch, lit with love, carried with care. The fans, too, are part of this legacy, because André's message isn't just for his son, it's for all of us. I only play the music that touches my heart, the letter ends. Now, it's your turn. The final note isn't loud. It's quiet, personal. A reminder that legacy isn't about one man. It's about the lives he's moved, the songs we remember, and the love that outlives the final curtain. The letter has been revealed. The story has been told. And now, the stage belongs to the future. André Rieu's lost letter isn't just a message. It's a legacy passed from father to son. If this story touched you, please like the video, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching and being part of this powerful moment in music history.